And so it cracked the code for me. One, my flesh. If my flesh does not feel abject terror in the presence of the living God, it has forgotten the fundamental fact about the Most High, which is that all flesh that sees him dies.
Why does this phenomenon of you becoming familiar creating a bigger problem than you ever intended it?
In recognizing that he is not like us and desiring to become closer to him, in that process, he imprints his image more clearly on us. And in the end, we wind up more like him, so he likes us better. He doesn't love us more because he can't. And if we're being honest, we actually like him better for the same reasons that we opened this episode talking about, because the more we become like him, the more that likeness does show up.
Well, I would say it's even deeper than that. It's the simple fact that, number one, the ark had been stolen by the enemy, and they were able to do things with proximity to the ark that Israel was not able to do.
As the intimacy grows over time, it begins to turn into likeness, and the magic of it is you wind up being more like him.
What if I told you you were meant for something more? And what if at first sight your birthright was inked in blood? And what if dominion was written in big bold letters? And what if we shouldn't just occupy but overcome? And what if the observation of opposition was us? Antikemi, the podcast.
I have found there is a problem whenever you remove friction in any relationship. Now, that may sound kind of counterintuitive, because a good relationship, usually friction is removed and you're able to build and grow closer.
Yeah.
But there is a flaw with that.
There is.
Because the closer you get to be with someone, the more that you are privy to looking at and seeing. And if the relationship is not built on anything that is solid,
yeah,
it will crumble. And you find yourself with contempt.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that says familiarity breeds contempt. And I was just really curious why that phenomenon seems to make sense. And we've all kind of experienced that. Have you ever felt frustrated because it seems like strangers seem to support you even more so than the people that you expect, like family members and so-called friends? They may expect discounts or expect a level of access and treatment to you that you don't have to deal with people who are not close to you or don't know you at all. And I find that to be especially true with how we should approach God, right, and how we tend to approach God. I think Scripture gives us a lot of examples on people who have failed to add the necessary friction in how they approach and their sense of awe with God.
Any relationship that lacks all tension will not hold anyone's attention.
I love that. That's just a fact.
You knew that when you were dating. You forgot it when you got married. Now you wonder where the spark went because nothing's hitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
I think this is something that we have to talk about. And I do believe by the end of this episode, it's going to be a kind of an interesting turn of how we can really look at this, how we can approach God, and how we can ultimately live Antikemi. Like, this is how we're able to truly oppose everything that the world is throwing at us, because they're going to teach us how we interact and interface with divinity and how that is going to set us up for destruction every single time.
I love it, man.
Stick with us. We're definitely going somewhere. You are tuned into Antikemi, the podcast. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Schulz.
And we can't wait to go down this path. Before we get started,
ignore the Heffalump Stampede.
Before we get started, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? If you're here with us, you obviously found this content, and it's found you.
All new drops are on this new channel.
Yes.
So
go ahead, click subscribe, turn on notification, the notification bell. We're going live kind of randomly, and so you definitely want to be notified whenever we're jumping on live. And like, comment, share it with somebody if you found the content to be valuable. And that's going to really help us out as we're trying to kind of launch a brand new channel. Definitely appreciative to any and everybody who has been rocking with us from the very, very beginning.
Yes, sir. Is this the long-awaited episode 33?
I believe this might be episode. You know what? My mind's going blank right now. I think this might be 34, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think 33 would have already dropped. Yeah,
that's how you know we're not
dropped.
Masons.
Not right.
Keep track of that.
You've been waiting on that, haven't you? And there's a few people who be watching that there was probably like, okay. No, this is episode 34.
I almost told you to make the first season 33 and say nothing about it, just to throw everybody for
just to
a
like
loop.
really mess with people. Just like, I know that they must know that has some sort of spiritual weight, significance around. You know what I mean? Like, it gotta be a reason. That's hilarious. That is funny. So check it out. Even what got me wanting to kind of talk about this is I saw this video. This content creator, she was basically talking about how people, the closer they are to you, the less they're willing to pay.
Yeah. Even on an entrepreneurial level.
That's where she was kind of coming from. She's like a brand coach, and she kind of helps build brands up. And she was just putting people on game of like understanding that brand loyalty is one thing, but the closer you are, or the closer that you feel that you are to a brand, you are typically willing to pay less for that. A good example of that is the Walmart brand. Walmart has kind of built this brand as far as being something that's accessible, and they're building everything with the fact that
there's one in every neighborhood.
Yeah. Low prices, they're rolling back. And so they fully expect that all of their consumers are going to pay less because that's what they're built on, right? They're fully accessible everywhere. They have saturated the market. That's their idea for it. But you have another brand like, I don't even know, because it's kind of hard to even like name like a luxury brand because we're in the age of social media. And so social media has
devalued.
Yeah, devalued and given access to everybody. Like anybody with a smartphone or access to the internet can pull up an image of a luxury item and have seen it, you know? And so that kind of devalues it by itself. But I've always like made the correlation of like luxury vehicles, they don't have car commercials. Like true luxury vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never seen a Maybach car commercial.
Right.
I've never seen a Maserati car commercial. Never really seen like a Lamborghini. Like they don't have to advertise their brand because they intentionally want to create a level of scarcity.
Yeah, Brendan was telling me that he wanted to create a supercar brand that is every bit as, nice as those ridiculously unattainable brands and models you're talking about, and but make it basically price it, with a narrow margin like any other car company, just enough margin over cost of construction that it's super attainable. And I said, here's the issue. You are going to run into a problem, which is that nobody with money is going to want your product. And we had the longest conversation. He was wrestling with it so hard. I said, you'll have to hit the sweet spot if you ever do that, because you'll have to make it just unattainable enough that, you know, the lower economic strata still sees it as hashtag goals, but attainable enough that with a little hard work they can get into it, because you're not going to get the wealthy in it. It's going to be too attainable, too familiar, too street level. So you're not going to get them buying it because it won't be a status symbol to them. So you'll have to hit a very specific sweet spot. And we had a long conversation. He kind of got where I was coming from. Yeah. But that is what people run into, that is a little counterintuitive until you really wrap your mind around it. But I saw when we were doing itinerant speaking, I saw, and I made this mistake myself, but I saw a lot of young evangelists make the mistake of being far too eager for bookings, and nobody wants you when you want bookings and you can say church people will immediately often have an objection to that and be like, well, that's ridiculous. That's not that's not godly. That's not how that should work.
It's human nature.
Yeah. Arguably you might be right. And there can be some people that are spirit led enough that they'll still hear the impulse from the Lord tell them to bring you in.
Yeah.
But you're just dealing with human nature.
Yeah.
That is just, you are way too present.
You're too available.
Way too available.
I mean, you see that play out in relationships with like men and women. Like if you come off like super needy, super available, like if you haven't like created like that level of distance, and some of that's just mind games as far as like, no, I'm not going to text you back for a few hours or even a couple days because I'm creating a level of scarcity between us. So that way it's like, I'm not that available. Like I'm not that busy. Like you can't text me and I'm just going to immediately respond back. I could be doing nothing, but I'm not going to let you know that.
Yeah, love really is a battlefield in a gamified kind of way. Like, I mean, hopefully it's not a battlefield in the sense of like, you know, doing violence to people either psychologically or physically, but in a very real sense, it is a chessboard. The game theory comes into it.
It does.
That's why you got to have a little bit of game. And there's actually nothing wrong with it. There's very few things that could be more human than the dance of attraction. That's going to be a very human process.
Yeah.
So there's actually nothing wrong with that, really, I don't think. There is supposed to be a little push and pull and a little, leave you on red for just long enough to make you wonder and then come back with a measured response, and you're supposed to leave each other a little frustrated. That's how you get it done. That's how you sink the hook if you're trying to.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Even as I'm thinking, like, when it comes to business, especially. I know when you have different luxury items like watches especially, they intentionally don't create enough for the demand that they know their product is going to elicit, because that bumps up the price, definitely, and people respond to that. And there's something that's in us where we feel like this is rare. Oh, I can't get this. You want it more. And I mean, people have even done like social experiments where they were like, on the street offering something and pretending that it was like super rare or you couldn't find it, and like completely fabricated every history behind something. But just the fact that this person thought this was something exclusive or rare or hard to find immediately attracted them to this. And it could have just been a knockoff something super generic, something that you could find any and everywhere. But the way that they presented it was that this is something that you can't have. It's not accessible to you. And so that's going to create an attraction, a longing in you. I'm going to awaken a hunger inside you that you didn't even know was there just by telling you this is not something that you can get.
I'm trying to remember the name of the brand with you talking about watches. There was a brand when Groupon was a big deal. When Groupon was like in its heyday, there was a watch brand that was selling a ton of they were like Submariner style watches, which is like, I'm not gonna say entry level, but it's like the more attainable end of the luxury watch world.
It wasn't Rolex, was it?
No, I mean that's what people were kind of imitating was that look and feel. But there was a brand that was billing itself as being a luxury brand that was selling in excess of inventory on Groupon. That was the marketing deal. And it kind of worked. You saw everybody pop up with them because they were pretty nice watches. You saw everybody pop up with them. But over time, I watched as they had to run deeper and deeper cuts on Groupon. And then eventually, I just kind of stopped seeing them because nobody cared because everyone had one.
Everyone had one.
They were way too attainable. And so even though it was a good watch and all of that, I think whoever invested in that company probably knew that that's what they were doing, and they probably got they probably got the ROI they came in for.
Right.
So they knew what they were doing, and they rode that pony as far as they could take it and all it. But it's not a sustainable model. You will not hold prolonged interest, and whatever you're producing won't hold value in the market over time. You've destroyed your own perception of value because you're way too available. It reminds me of I don't know if this was a Vine era deal. There was an influencer that used to go into the subway in New York supposedly playing a Stradivarius. So basically just on the street busking. I wish I could remember the details, but the basic idea was it was a concert musician. I mean, for those that are in the world of violins, a Stradivarius, I don't even think it's fair to say that it's a Rolls Royce. It's more than a Rolls Royce because there's only a few in the world. And this is kind of the maker that actually codified the pinnacle of the modern violin. To this day, people are not making more than the most minor tweaks and improvements on Stradivarius approach to the anatomy of a violin. You just can't get much better.
Right.
And the few remaining that were actually made by the hands of Stradivarius, have seasoned for several hundred years in the best concert halls under the best playing in the world. When it comes to frequency, that matters over time. Any master concert musician, I'm confident, would agree with my statement, and if they didn't, luthiers would, that it matters who you give an instrument to season it. So if you hand in a beautiful instrument to some kid that's going to wail on it, you're going to get one level of seasoning. If you hand it to a maestro who's going to pull the rich caramel notes that are available out of it and draw all the different dynamics out of it for 6 months, that instrument is going to season very differently than the one being played by the student, because you're actually setting the default resonance that's going to live in that instrument for a long time.
Wow.
Everything's moving to adjust whatever, like the most adjustment is going to happen in those early months. And then that curve is going to slow way down. So who is drawing those frequencies out of it matters in that time period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the point is, these instruments are priceless in a way that's hard to describe. And supposedly this guy was going down into the subway and playing the same piece that he was going to play at Music City later that night.
Incredible.
In a sold-out show where everybody's paying hundreds to thousands of dollars to be there.
I think I saw this, yeah.
And everybody just
walked by,
shoving by him because of familiarity, because he's busking, because he's way too intimately available. Proximity.
Yeah. Reportedly, Denzel Washington told Michael B. Jordan, be mindful of your social media online presence. If you're too available online, he says, if anybody can access you on a random Tuesday, why would they pay to see you in theaters?
Dude.
And that's why, like, actors and bigger artists very, very rarely online. Like, they have built in a level of friction between their consumer and access to them. And I've even seen people go so far as saying, like, people who are like streamers or like personality presence, like live online, there's a huge problem that gets created because the way that they're sharing their lives online with strangers on a day-to-day basis, you've built this pseudo-relationship with somebody who you'll never meet. But the way that they interact with you online is that they know you. And in some ways they actually kind of do. But they actually don't, because they've only experienced the curated version of whatever this person wants you to kind of see. And it's really, really dangerous, and like how comfortable people have become based upon whatever perception of proximity that they see on your presence online.
You're really triggering me right now. I'm trying to decide if you know what you're doing or not. You're going to set me off, because every time I have, which I think you're pointing at one of the great qualitative markers that probably could be helpful in defining the difference between being a celebrity and being internet famous, which is a little hard to quantify, because at a point, like, most people that are internet famous are not known by hundreds of millions of people. So there is that. Like, Hollywood famous, not that that's so great or that celebrity is such a, we're just using the metaphor, the analogy. But Hollywood famous or whatever is going to be, you're going to be known to the tune of hundreds of millions of people. So that's a little hard to compete with at some level. But there are a few people online that are walking that line real close. But there's still something, and I think it might be what you're talking about, that because of the sphere that they built that influence in, by necessity, they are significantly more attainable to communicate with, to interact with. You can trigger them in comment threads. You can, whereas a lot of celebrities, their account is being run by a team, so you're not going to pull them down into the comments. You're not going to get them to roll in the mud with you. all of that, right? Mm-hmm. But when you start talking about the way that shows up in the parasocial dynamic between the audience and the performer, which I like that terminology a little bit better than things like influencer and follower. I'm increasingly deeply uncomfortable with the fact that in order to keep up with the content that is being produced by a creator, I have to do things like follow them, subscribe to them, and we're right there in that ecosystem.
Yeah.
But that makes me uncomfortable because I feel like most of the time what you're dealing with is an entertainer and an audience. And then in the best, you're dealing with creators and those that appreciate what they create. So in that realm, that parasocial dynamic that tends to develop is so deeply dangerous to both sides of the equation because it can give this false sense of some level of real intimacy.
Real, yes.
With no guardrails and no real world analogs that keep it in the bounds of true human relationship and interaction.
Right.
And so you wind up with this, you said pseudo intimacy, this virtual relationship. And where that starts to make me real uncomfortable is when I think about the megachurch model, for instance.
Yeah.
Where thousands of people can feel personal love and affinity for and feel personally cared for and shepherded by a person who has never met them, doesn't know their name, can't see their face in the crowd. And I'm not saying that to throw shade. I'm saying that literally, I mean what I'm saying. It makes me uncomfortable. What does that mean when you feel like you love, honor, and respect personally this shepherd who you experience as your family's personal shepherd, but they don't know you and they don't know who you are, and you actually don't know them. You know the persona that, because we all have to use persona to a degree when we're in public. There's no choice. You're not being fake to do that.
No.
We have no choice. You cannot be the same person on that platform as you're going to be in Starbucks afterward. You can't be the same version of that person. You can be an authentic version.
Yeah.
You should be. You better be.
There's definitely a
if you're doing it
difference,
right.
yeah.
But there is a difference because context matters. And that keeps going in layers. You're going to be a different person, a different version in the car, a different version in your living room, a different version in your bedroom. But then the one layer further that makes me even a little more uncomfortable than that is questioning, to what degree does this repetitive experience we're all having of these parasocial, pseudo-intimate, those are big words, but they're super simple. It's above social, so it feels like friendship, it feels like covenant, but it's not actually happening in the social realm, which technically makes it something different. And pseudo-intimate, meaning it feels like intimacy, but whatever it is, it's not that. It's not two humans actually risking an equal amount of skin in the game to know and be known. So we keep experiencing that parasocial dynamic in these different areas of our life, online, in massive faith institutions, different spaces in our lives where we're experiencing that. Is it possible that that could be translating onto our relationship with Jesus, where we really love the idea of him and we love the version of him that comes across to us in our Bible app with the daily reading and our the sermon series and Sunday school and the influencers that we follow that inspire us to love Jesus more and all of that. But would we know? Because we're losing track of what relationship is, and we're losing track of what intimacy is, and we're losing track of what gives that value. So would we know if he knew us or didn't?
Would we know? That's how deep deception can actually work. How it's intertwined.
Yeah.
In every part of us. We may not even know how deceived we truly are. So I got to kind of thinking as I was thinking and even praying about how this plays out, like in psychology, even before we even tackle the spiritual aspect of it. I want to kind of explore some of the foundation, social issues of how that plays out. There was this paper that I was kind of looking at, and they brought some very, very interesting points of research that I think would be kind of apropos to this discussion. And they proposed the lure of ambiguity and how important that is. And their central thesis was that although people believe that learning more about others leads to greater liking, more information about others leads on average to less liking. Meaning ambiguity, which is lacking information about someone else, right? That is what fosters attraction. While familiarity, which means acquiring more information in this sense, breeds contempt. That's what they're trying to prove. And I was very interested in how they were going to kind of quantify that sort of data. They did 5 different studies, and I'll kind of run through them.
Before you run through the 5 studies, first of all, who's they? Do you remember? Just in case somebody wanted to look it up.
I can.
Or can we drop it in the description?
Yeah, I can find it in the description. I can actually link the entire study in the description.
Yeah, I can't stand so many videos that I watch online make me want to see the study, and then I can't find it.
Can't find it.
So I'd love to put that in the description. But I'm just thinking quickly, and then I'll shut up and let you go, but I'm just thinking about what you're saying with a real world referent to it. For me, were you in the conversation the other day, and you might not remember if you were, but somebody made the comment to me offhandedly, kind of kidding, that they hoped that Brooke treats me like the man of God that I am. I don't remember where this conversation happened.
I wasn't involved in that conversation.
It was well-intentioned. They were being complimentary. I'm sorry if it was one of our folks and you're watching. Somebody made that kind of comment, and I just turned to them and said, I don't have it in me to expect anyone who has to smell my farts.
Oh, yeah, I remember you said
me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, that's just kind of the reality of it. She knows how I clip my toenails. It's not that she doesn't have honor. We'll get into how that dance plays out, because you have to keep that level of wonder about each other, or it starts to fall apart.
Right.
But it brings a challenge in that's just built into the intimacy. And the older I get, the more I realize why the old folks did go in the bathroom and close the door when they clipped their toenails.
Because I guarantee whoever said that to you is not in the bedroom or the bathroom where you're clipping your toenails.
100%.
They've never smelt you
Right.
past gas.
Right.
And so all they have access to is you probably just the charisma in play.
Yeah.
The gift of God operating through you for that season, that they have access to it. And so, of course, they see that. They're in awe of it, as they should be. You're pretty good up there.
I think of that every time I see some preacher run off with like a young lady. And among all the the thoughts that I have, one of them is, I feel bad for that poor young sister when she figures out what he's like without the lights, the camera, you know what I mean?
What's the old saying? Never meet your heroes?
Right.
Yeah.
And I always said that to Bishop Phillips, that I was so thankful that meeting him did not destroy any fundamental moral perception that I had of him. It just, like, the longer I knew him, the more I knew he really is the man of God, and Mama Phillips really is the woman of God that we all thought they were.
Right.
But it destroyed everything else about my view of them. In other words,
they're human.
The idolization that I had, the honor went so much deeper. And we'll get into that. But the honor went so much deeper because I was like, you really are this person. Like, you're not fronting. But the way I found that out was I learned all the humanity. And then I was like, well, the humanity is very human.
Yeah.
But it's not ungodly.
It's not.
And that's dope. But it's different than when I was starstruck the first time I spoke with him and my heart was pounding because Kenneth Phillips is speaking to me. The Kenneth Phillips. That changed. That part changed. But by the grace of God, the honor went deeper. But that's the thing. Like, you meet a lot of people and find out that they're not who they presented themselves as. But even if they are, it's gonna change the filter when you get that intimacy. And so, yeah, like, I used to think old timers were kind of silly for doing those kind of things, shutting the door to clip their toenails, all the little, even the old schoolers that, and we didn't have this growing up, but I knew people who had this. And certainly my parents taught me, and I still teach my children, when you go to someone's house, you don't go into their master suite, like, period. But my parents, they never told us not to go in there. That was fine. We could go in there. And if I'm being honest, my kids have access to ours as well. But I understand why the old timers didn't do it that way. Why they didn't allow I used to think that's kind of mean. That there's a place in your home that your kids aren't allowed. Yes. And there's a version of them that only shows up in that space.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's the temple model. But
okay, spoilers.
So the paper, they did 5 studies.
One for each finger?
Yeah, to kind of prove the thesis that ambiguity was actually the road to take. So the first study established that people believe
mystery.
that people believe more knowledge equals more liking. So they first proved that.
Right.
That people have that fundamental thought that the more knowledge I have about you, that's more to love.
You think that's why people be saying all the stupid stuff online that they do when you're I don't think I would have said that.
Probably. There has to be some level of ignorance of thinking you opening your mouth and proving to everyone that you really are the fool that
the idiot that we suspected you might be.
Yeah, it's not helping your case. But check this out: 81 to 88% held this intuition, but that belief they found is clearly a cognitive error, right?
Right. I'm awesome. The more they know about me, the more they're going to like me.
The study, too, is showed experimentally that more traits revealed about a stranger produce less liking, actually. Even when the traits were randomly selected and mostly positive.
Man.
So they picked like random traits to reveal, and the traits that they revealed were mostly positive. The results still lean towards the more I knew about this person, the less likable they actually ended up being.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah. Study 3 identified dissimilarity as the mediating mechanism. As more information is revealed, perceived similarity drops, which drives down liking.
You know this is torture for me, right?
Like,
you are killing me, bro. This is deep.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It gets better. Study 4, it documented what they call dissimilarity cascade. This was so good to me.
Dissimilarity cascade. Okay.
Once evidence of dissimilarity is encountered, subsequent information is more likely to be interpreted as further evidence of dissimilarity.
Say it again.
All right. So you have a dissimilarity cascade, so there's going to be a correlation between this. Once evidence of dissimilarity is encountered, subsequent information is more likely to be interpreted as further evidence of dissimilarity.
Oh, my God.
So it colors everything that follows unidirectionally. So that sounds like a lot of words, right? But basically what it's saying is that once you have identified dissimilarity. So if I'm meeting you for the first time and I'm just like, man, you're a great guy. Tell me about yourself.
And then I tell you I'm not black, and it's
okay, well, that's a dissimilarity. But something like less obvious, right?
Okay.
Let's just say like you...
Is it that obvious?
Yeah. Apparently it's what they tell us, right? You share something about yourself that, let's say I fundamentally disagree. Let's say like, man, you know what? I hate dogs. I can't stand. Like I would just, if I see a dog, I just want to kick it.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm like, well, that's intense. Yeah, and I happen to love dogs.
We need to have the editors put the red flag guy go running by right there.
Like, wait a minute, flag on the play, right? So if you were to share something like that, and that triggers me, any information you kind of share after that is going to kind of cascade down the rabbit hole of how I perceive dissimilarities between us.
Okay, pause. Time out.
Time out.
Hold on. So y'all are just, I don't know who our demographics are. You're all gonna have to receive this in the spirit it's intended and choose to just laugh because it's funny. I don't care who you are. I was scrolling shorts the other day. And this dude, when I tell you it was the Marlboro Man, okay? Think of the Marlboro Man with a modern beard. And, I mean, hat, all of it. I can tell you instantly, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I could tell you instantly this man has served in active duty.
Yeah.
Like, you know how you can just, you know.
They have that aura.
You know, yes. He's standing in front of a very middle American red brick home with like a perfectly manicured lawn and a peaked roof over his garage. Like the whole bit, a huge American flag coming off of the top of his garage. And I'm not going to lie, as soon as he popped up, my finger went not out of any conscious bias, but I didn't want to get a lecture about politics.
Yeah.
Like I just.
Yeah, he was like, I'm good.
And like, so I'm like this, and he says the first words out of his mouth. I'm telling you, there's like 0.3 seconds where you're like, oh, I know what this is.
Right.
And he goes, I'm not MAGA. Please listen to me. And then proceeds to talk about what he was going to talk about. And I ran to the comments. And it was one comment after another of people saying, you said that just in time.
Yeah.
Like, well played, sir.
Yeah.
So I just like that. To me, that's funny because in the context of what you're saying, people saw that one thing and they're like, whatever
snowball.
else follows.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've already kind of drawn that conclusion. It's like, you had 1 second.
And honestly, in my case, it was more just like, I don't want to hear it. It wasn't, I just didn't want to, I wasn't interested in talking about that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could be it definitely could be people who are triggered by the politics they're going to assume you have. But it also could just be that there's an immediate perception that makes me feel like I know everything about you, even though I don't.
Yeah.
But it did make me feel like, I know this guy. We all know this guy.
Yeah.
So that, and he's funny because he was smart. He put the mystery right back in.
Yeah. That's such a good example
Yeah.
of that study played out.
Yeah.
And the last study 5, it took this into the real world with online daters. And it said knowledge increased from pre to post date, of course, while both liking and perceived similarity significantly decreased. And so they kind of put it to the test with people actively going and meeting for the first time on dates and kind of interviewing them pre-date and then post-date. This was the key insight, though. It said ambiguity operates as a lure. At first acquaintance, individuals read into others what they wish and find evidence of similarity, leading to liking. But over time, as evidence of dissimilarity is uncovered, liking decreases.
Some of us should tattoo that whole summary backwards on our foreheads.
So everybody can just read that, man.
So we can see it in the mirror every morning.
Oh, that's true.
I mean,
that's true, yeah.
Ambiguity operates as a lure.
Yeah.
At first acquaintance, individuals read into others what they wish and find evidence of similarity leading to liking. Over time as evidence of... Let's stop before that second sentence. What do you think that first sentence says about human nature?
Usually get what you're looking for.
And what are we looking for?
Similarities.
Us.
Yeah.
It's not actually what we need for long-term success in a relationship. This gets back into the discussion in the natural realm, like repels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the spirit realm, like attracts like. So that's very challenging when you're discussing a topic like marriage.
Yeah. Because you need the push and pull.
I'm telling you, the thing that has made my marriage work is the fact that we could not be more opposite in the natural realm and more aligned in the spiritual realm. That is the ideal scenario.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
But it's pretty scary that, to me, the implication of that first sentence, at first acquaintance, this is telling you how the lure works. Yeah. It's like a fly tying lesson. This reel works because it simulates this. At first acquaintance, individuals read into others what they wish and find evidence of similarity. leading to liking, which tells you what they wish is similarity, which leads to liking, which tells you that what they actually like is themselves. And so they are projecting onto you the image of themselves. And the longer they go steady with you and find that illusion crumbling where their projection is not strong enough to overwhelm what you're putting out, your frequency.
You're birthing contempt.
Dude.
Little by little. As time goes on. And this has like fatal implications spiritually, man.
Ooh.
A couple other quick insights. Propinquity paradox.
That was my new word of the day.
Super cool word. That's talking about basically physical proximity.
Yeah. I was mad at it when I read that first definition because I was like, well, why didn't you just say frickin' proximity? But then the second definition has to do with kinship, closeness of kinship.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, proximity doesn't always equal relatedness, kinship. So this word is a little more loaded with the idea of relationship.
So that idea of that word does predict the emergence of friendships, but does an even better job of predicting the emergence of enemies. Basically, the closer you live to someone, the more likely you either find your best friend or your worst neighbor.
By the way, please don't do me like you did me last time and put my maniacal laugh in a short. That serpent reel that took over TikTok.
I know. And I love it every time I hear it. It just like hits you out of nowhere.
Who's that guy? Screaming in the background. Bro.
Isn't that kind of crazy though?
Dude.
Like, they're kind of giving us like some hard data sets.
They're definitely putting us on game.
Yeah, like why does this phenomenon of you becoming familiar creating a bigger problem than you ever intended it?
So while physical proximity or propinquity, I'm assuming we're saying that right, does predict the emergence of friendships. So it is a correlative.
Yeah.
Obviously, because you can't become friends
without truly getting to know someone, right?
Which is why, like, people who are online only friends, and for some people, that's the only option they have. But there is this one last layer there until you know each other in real life, that there's like this little bell in the back of your mind that's like, how many layers are they not showing me?
Yeah.
So it makes that a little tough. So for the most part, friendship depends on physical proximity. So obviously, proximity is going to be a potential predictor of friendship, but they're saying it's more likely to predict enmity in the future.
Yes, it will.
Bruh.
And this is the last key insight that was just special to me, man. The person positivity bias. At no or minimal acquaintance, individuals view others optimistically. The so-called person positivity bias. This inflated optimism is precisely what gets dismantled as more information arrives. So, like, we gotta, again, we're entering into these relationships oftentimes with the bias towards positivity. Like, yeah, the more I know about you, the better I'm gonna like you, and I'm just assuming that everything that I'm gonna find out about you, I'm gonna like, and we're gonna be as similar as possible. Not everybody feels this way. There's some people who obviously lean towards a negative mindset. And that's usually based upon trauma experiences, right?
Yeah.
They've been kind of built that way. But this inflated optimism, it was saying, that's what gets dismantled the more active information arrives. And so it kind of tends for us like, man, that mentality, that mental framework we may have like conjured up, when that's getting destroyed, that has an adverse effect on our psyche and how we view the world and then how we view ourselves. If we have enough introspection to kind of do that work, kind of look at what we're particularly projecting onto people, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of gets you to think, all right, all that science and psychology is cool, right? But how does this particularly like look from a spiritual standpoint? And do we serve a God who kind of understands this already and intentionally moves like that to avoid us becoming too familiar?
Yeah.
And you've read it on this podcast before, talked about Isaiah 45. He says, truly you are a God who hides himself.
Yeah.
O God of Israel. Like, that's a personality trait of the Most High God. Like, he intentionally kind of creates this friction. Like, if you don't believe that, you haven't been reading your Bible.
Right. And it's not because he doesn't desire intimacy.
Yeah.
It's precisely the opposite. He wants sustained intimacy upheld by a relationship that has the fortifications to carry that level of intimacy, and he, of all beings, because all that is the emanation of his mind and his heart, of all beings, he understands that requires a layer of mystery from him. Never forget that he is the masculine energy to all the rest of the created things. Mm-hmm. He is emanating it, we are receiving it and bringing it forth. He is a God who hides himself.
Truly hides himself. And you can, I hear people already thinking like, okay, well, that was the Old Testament. Jesus, he's the express image of the Father, and he made himself available to everybody, right? Pushed his way through crowds. He was just always around. But I would be curious how they would think the Gospels detail the fact that he had 12. And in that 12, he built in friction even in his closest group.
There was an order of intimacy.
And he made no apologies and gave at least no documented explanations to the 9 why the 3 had different level of access to him. Mm-hmm. When he was healing Jairus' daughter, Peter, James, and John, come on upstairs with me. On the mount where he is transfigured, Peter, James, and John, come on up. Thaddeus walked with them too.
Right.
Judas walked with them too.
Thomas went on to found all the churches of Southeast Asia.
Yeah. These were hand-picked people. Not even Matthew It's documented. To have experienced some of these integral moments of his ministry. And so that's just a consistent personality characteristic of God.
Consider the Last Supper.
Yeah.
Jesus postures himself in this really unique way. First of all, he's going to wash all of their feet, even Judas.
Yeah.
But also, he seats himself at the table with his best friend and his closest enemy leaning on his chest, reclining on his chest, which was the ancient Near Eastern. That is how men expressed masculine intimacy that was not sexual.
Right.
So that the custom for what we would call platonic intimacy between men was when we're hanging out, when we're especially eating, which was the big, what everyone came together for. Like when we were reading on the live, I think, about the wedding. The one with the wedding garment or without the wedding garment. The English uses basically the word guests. The guests were there, and one of the guests wasn't dressed in the correct attire. But the Second Testament, a New Translation, the Scott McKnight one, that's showing you the look and feel of the Greek, doesn't call them guests, it calls them the reclining ones. So everybody around that table with Jesus, contrary to the image burned in our minds by the artist's rendition of the Last Supper, is reclining, and Jesus chooses his closest personal friend and his closest enemy to recline on his chest and share his bowl. And in doing so, to my mind, I believe that was his gentle gift to John of letting him know before anybody else what was about to happen. That I believe that was a friendship gesture from Jesus to John. He needed to prepare his heart a little bit more than the others because he was going to take it more personally. Yeah. Remember, John didn't run.
That's right.
He was too close. He was too intimate. He couldn't flee. He was too bound with Jesus. So Jesus is saying, one who dips his hand in the cup with me, and John knows it's not him. Nobody has to say that to John. So everybody else at the table may or may not have been aware enough of the dynamic with Judas to be sure, but John was sure. So John now knows he can prepare his heart for a few minutes before everyone else confronts this reality.
Wow, that's good.
In that very intimate moment, you see this dynamic playing out of intimate revelation producing both the strongest form of friendship possible simultaneously and bringing out the ultimate expression of an enmity that had been growing. And one thing that I don't know that people clock is that at that juncture, Judas had already made his deal with the devil.
Yeah.
When it says that Jesus told Judas, what you must do, do quickly. There was no longer a choice for Judas. He had sold his soul.
Yeah.
So he had to fulfill the contractual obligation of the deal he had struck. So Jesus now brings that dynamic to its ultimate expression and finishes his business with this personal relationship simultaneously by removing that last layer of intimate distance from both simultaneously. We're all the way in. There's no more layers because these are platonic relationships, so there's no more layers to unravel. This is as close as it gets.
Right.
And the ultimate friend and the ultimate enemy both come forth out of that. So it's kind of what you're talking about in a very stark setting that couldn't make it more obvious that the revealing of the deepest layers of knowledge about us is going to produce
either your greatest friend or your greatest enemy. My goodness.
So when you were kind of summing up your study of that paper, I just kept thinking of the line from Psalm 50, you thought that I was altogether like you.
Yeah.
This idea that we project what we wish for onto, and what do they call that? Person positivity bias. And then the more that illusion is shattered by knowledge, the more disenchanted we become.
Yeah.
Ultimately and kind of grotesquely, because we no longer can project ourselves onto the other successfully. So I went and looked it up in the New English translation. I was stunned to find that it is God complaining about Israel having developed a parasocial relationship with him. So it opens, God, Yehovah has spoken and summoned the earth to come from the east and west. When we read that language, summoned the earth, you got to remember the earth is one of his living creatures.
Yeah.
And the word summoned is basically, we still use it. It's courtroom language. The earth is being, what's that called when you subpoenaed?
Yeah.
We're setting up a courtroom scene. God has a complaint. From Zion, the most beautiful of all places, God has come in splendor. He's in his robes, building a courtroom scene. May our God come and not be silent. Consuming fire goes ahead of him, and all around him a storm rages. We can't get into it, but literally earth, wind, and water, fire. He's set it all up. He summons the heavens above as well as the earth, both living creatures that are going to serve as witnesses, so that he might judge his people. He says, assemble my covenant people before me. So he is the complainant, they are the defendant. Those who ratified a covenant with me by sacrifice. The heavens declare his fairness, for God is judge. Selah. He says, listen, my people, I am speaking. Listen, Israel, I am accusing you. I am God, your God. I am not condemning you because of your sacrifices or because of your burnt sacrifices that you continually offer me. He said, you are some churchy people, and that's not why I'm mad at you. I do not need to take a bull from your household or goats from your sheepfolds. I don't need more of that. Plenty of that going on. For every wild animal in the forest belongs to me, as well as the cattle that graze on 1,000 hills. How often do we quote that with not even a nod to the context in which he said it?
At all.
I keep track of every bird in the hills, and the insects of the field are mine. But here's where it starts to tag what this complaint is about. Mm-hmm. Even if I were hungry, I would not tell you.
Yeah.
There's no intimacy between us.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that side of me. Mm-hmm. I'm good. I make my own way. Mm-hmm. For the world and all it contains belong to me. But the funny thing is, he has told people when he desired. Jesus on the cross, I thirst. He has done that. He's just telling them, I don't have that relationship with you. Not on a friendship level or an adversarial level. We are not at that level of intimacy. Yeah. Do I eat the flesh of bulls? Do I drink the blood of goats? Whole discussion there. Present to God a thank offering. Repay your vows to the Most High. Pay to me when you are in trouble. I will deliver you and you will honor me. God says this to the evildoer. How can you declare my commands and talk about my covenant? When you see a thief, you join him. You associate with men who are unfaithful to their wives. You do damage with words and use your tongue to deceive. You plot against your brother. You slander your own brother. When you did these things, I was silent, so you thought I was exactly like you. When you did these things, I was silent, so you projected the image of yourself onto me and liked me for it. Remember, when we say we like someone, what are we saying? When we say we really need to give thought to that. When we say we like someone, we are saying we think they're like us.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what it means. I like you. I think you're like me.
Yeah.
Like. You thought I was exactly like you, but now I will condemn you and state my case against you. Carefully consider this, you who reject God. Otherwise, I will rip you to shreds and no one will be able to rescue you. Whoever presents a thank offering honors me. To whoever obeys my commands, I will reveal my power to deliver. So, pretty interesting there, bro, that God is saying the reason that we thought that he was like us is because he didn't say everything that he thought about what was going on.
And if we have any type of discernment and understanding that the God who chooses to hide himself,
right,
that's both the protection and the gift.
Right.
Like that's the way that we need to like perceive that.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be offended. And I mean, I think modern evangelical Christianity, while we have removed any barriers or reduced friction to the cross, we should do that.
Yeah.
But that should not come with a side of collateral damage when we're reducing a level of reverence to the most holy God.
Yeah.
And I think that shows up with how we address him. It shows up in our just casual nature. And that's not... we've conflated that with like what we're addressing or how we address ourselves, like literally the attire we put on. Like, okay, man, you're wearing a T-shirt and a hat, so you don't have any respect for God. Really? That's the conclusion that you've drawn in the narrow way that you may look at? Because that person's wearing a three-piece suit with Italian shoes and heart is just as wicked and evil, but this person in jeans and a t-shirt has completely wrung their heart out before God, and he's asking God to sweep every recessed part of their soul, wipe it clean, and recognize that they're a sinner as they beat their chest and bow down in worship. And this person wouldn't kneel at the altar because they wouldn't dare get their suit dirty.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like not about clothes in this aspect, but it should be really about a heart posture.
It's back to posture.
It comes back down to heart posture. And that's what God is, that's what he's looking at.
I've thought that so many times when people have complained about something like hats in the sanctuary, it makes me uncomfortable. Culturally, it makes me uncomfortable. I wasn't raised around it.
Right.
That being said, I've clocked that I can't remember the last time I saw somebody wear their everyday hat to church. It's typically a hat. In modern culture, it's often a hat that they take such good care of that they haven't even removed the little sticker. It's kind of a thing in that world.
Yeah.
Where they haven't even removed the little sticker that from the manufacturer. Because basically the idea is you're saying, I keep this pristine, right? Yeah. And it isn't cheap. And so I've kind of clocked, okay, there's a posture there. You're from different cultures, so one of you knotted a tie, and one of you took a hat that you're scared to breathe on and put it on, and you both did it because you wanted to show up looking fly for God.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you could look at the other person's cultural expression and judge it.
Yes.
But don't forget that God is looking at their heart and judging their posture.
Ugh.
And that may not be as readily apparent to you because of cultural blinders.
Yeah.
So careful who you judge.
We have to be careful with that. We get too comfortable in how we judge. We get too familiar in how we can look at somebody and we can make a judgment based upon the lack of evidence that we think that we have.
It's no secret that I grew up in a unique environment. I did grow up in Pentecost. I did grow up in holiness. I did grow up on the hardcore end of that, minimally. However, the preacher that I grew up under had a habit of seeing connections other people weren't seeing.
Yeah.
So I grew up hearing preaching against ties. Neckties, for multiple reasons, but amongst them, there's a decent argument to be made that they may have originally developed as a phallic symbol.
Right.
I mean, the first time I heard that, I almost fell out laughing, except I was too scared to laugh in church. I thought that was so funny when he said that. I was like, "That, come on, bro. That feels like a stretch." The more I've learned about the world, the more I've discovered that actually isn't much of a stretch at all. In fact, once you start understanding symbolism, and you look at a necktie, and then you look at the Washington Monument or any other obelisk, you will see a direct correlation with the added oddity of the necktie being an inverted image of it so that it is hanging down rather than, unfortunately, let's just say what an obelisk represents, erect.
Yeah.
It definitely, at least, may have developed out of Masonic type traditions. And we could kind of go on and on. I've heard people make arguments that it could potentially signify the cutting of the neck or the strangulation because of the blood covenants that people enter into to be in those societies. That all sounds far-fetched unless you're aware that we are living in a world that is replete with symbolism. Now, I grew up hearing that used as a mechanism to preach against ties. And there were other reasons as well. The church I grew up in questioned the concept of telling women you can't adorn yourself with jewelry, but then telling men feel free to adorn yourself with these expensive accoutrements. So I kind of liked the fact that they were like, hey, maybe this measuring stick should be applied to
everybody,
both genders, you know, or we only had two we were working with. But you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
As I got older, I'm deeply grateful for that upbringing because it paved the way for me to have a hard time just settling for the kind of grand narrative. Like I was taught to question that and to look a layer deeper.
Right.
But I did start to realize I think that the argument about whether men should wear neckties or not might kind of be missing the point because God sees all the symbolism everywhere. I think he's looking at the heart posture behind it.
Yeah.
And so if you have a conviction that to you that symbolism is too clear and you don't want to be a part of it, that heart posture is the one he's looking for. And if you have a conviction that when you go to church on Sunday morning, you want to pull your best tie out of the closet and give it your best knot with the best drape so that you can come to church looking ready to receive the King of Kings, that's the heart posture he's looking for. And as long as neither of you is judging the ones that are making other decisions from the same posture,
yes, sir,
we got no issues.
Not at all. Not at all. And I think that we have found ourselves just like Moses. We're like, God, we just give us more of you. We want to see all of you. Open our eyes. Open the eyes of our heart, Lord.
Yeah.
Let us see everything. Like Moses says, show me your glory.
Yeah.
And I love how God responds. He's like, I'm going to show you a very muted.
I'm going to shield you from most of me.
Right. A very muted part of me. I'm going to shield you. Literally hide you.
It's kind of like that. The truth, you can't handle the truth.
Can't.
Like, brother.
I'm going to pass before you. And that's such a great example of like.
The dance.
Yeah.
Like, the little tension in that relationship.
I'm not going to give you everything that you want, but I'm going to give you enough that's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, you brought up the objection that, like, well, Jesus was the express image of God, so now we know. He said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. You know. When we were doing the first installment, we're going to get into other installments, but when we were doing the first installment on that recent live of the Tabernacle Temple series, I quoted from John Bunyan's book about Solomon's Temple.
Right.
And listen, man, I'm glad Bunyan wrote about the spiritual analogs of Solomon's Temple because people really be out here trying to gaslight us into believing that this is forbidden knowledge. But the thing is that John Bunyan is about as orthodox as you can get. Like, it's really hard to throw barbs at John Bunyan for being a heretic, unless you think all Calvinists are heretics, which
that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I'm not on the 5-point train by any means, but Calvin is a very much he's in the family. Yeah. People have a hard time arguing against that, right? And he makes this statement that I really appreciated, because coming from somebody like that, I feel like it carries a little bit of weight. I know it's appeal to authority, but sometimes I could say it and you would question it, but you might look at it again if John Bunyan said it, the author of Pilgrim's Progress. But he made this statement that the Old Testament was filled with types and shadows. The New Testament revealed the express image. Both of these reveal the glory of the artist, the amazingness of the God who is showing these types and shadows and this express image. But all of them are connected to the idea of imagery, just clearer and more high definition. These are not his words. He didn't say high definition. He didn't say that. But the point is, he was saying it's still not face to face.
Yeah.
And so he was making the argument, images, types, and shadows are always going to be useful while we wait for face to face.
I was happy you said that. I mean, we could I was going to bring this up later, but that's exactly what Paul was getting into in 1 Corinthians. We was talking about we see through a glass darkly.
Come on, man.
And then face to face. Like, this is being presented and framed as like a future gift, not a present one. That's something that we're looking forward to, right?
Yes.
And even then, you had the most beautiful, glorified, I want to say he was a seraphim, right? Lucifer?
Uh-huh.
No, he's called
cherub.
The cherub. He called the anointed cherub.
Right.
So
guardian of the glory.
He's probably the closest proximity to the throne of God. And he found himself too familiar. To the point where he's like, the glory that the Most High is receiving, that belongs to me as well. Because I'm the one that's kind of facilitating the atmosphere for this worship to go forth. And that is so dangerous. And my prayer has been, God, please don't allow me to have access to your presence to the point where I don't treat it in complete holiness and allow myself to just get too comfortable. Like, I found myself even entering into prayer time at times just too casual. And I have an intimate relationship with God, and I'm able to like be very raw and honest with him because he sees all and hears all anyway. But what comes out of my mouth, I want my heart to kind of match that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm even like checked at times where I'm just like, man, you're just getting real comfortable, real callous almost even with how you're addressing the Father right now. There needs to still be a level of like honor that you are approaching the throne with. You know what I mean? Like, I know that we boldly approach the throne of grace, but boldness does not mean that we lack honor, that we lack reverence, that we lack respect. All of those words, I think, are necessary for us to approach him the way that we need to. I saw here, too, that a lot of mystical tradition, they hold to the idea that, like, total exposure would not produce greater love. It would overwhelm the capacity to receive.
Right.
So, like, we think that we would have a greater devotion with just total exposure, but that's just not the case at all. And, like, furthermore, like, they understood that proximity to the sacred, it requires, like, this self-contraction. Like, that has to be something innate inside of us, that while we have proximity to sacredness, we need to still approach it with a level of, like, awe, right? That way that we can, like, maintain a relational posture of reaching and longing and desire and wonder rather than collapsing into familiarity. And it's so easy to fall into that.
So, first of all, I want to put a pin in that, collapsing into familiarity, which is so easy. Pardon me. Put a pin in it, not in the sense of moving away from it, but in the sense that, for me, that's kind of taking me two places at the same time. The first is super obvious. You referenced it, Isaiah 14. How have you fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn? Lucifer, light bringer. Not so much a proper name as a role description.
Yes.
You have been cut down to the earth, you who have weakened the nations. But you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. And I will sit on the mount of assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will make myself like the Most High.
Yeah.
You said in your heart, I will ascend. This is the whole, I believe this, first of all, is the whole trap of mysticism as a practice of obtaining wisdom and knowledge as a mechanism of figuring out the blueprint for how to climb the ladder of consciousness to reveal the divinity within yourself.
Right.
That approach is the definition of not coming in at the gate of Jesus, because I believe that is that right there is where the subtle difference between the enlightenment that comes from the Holy Spirit of God dwelling in you through the person and work of the Lord Jesus, and the trap of following spirit guides or ascended masters into higher realms of consciousness, or practicing some form of witchcraft or anything occult like that. All of those disciplines look at the glory of God that we look at a lot of times on this podcast. The thing is, why we don't advertise this heavily even in our own church body, is because once you start understanding these mysteries, which are the ways in which God has hidden himself, once you start understanding these mysteries, you immediately are confronted with an option.
Come on.
To harness that knowledge and make your way up a ladder of consciousness that will bring an increase of power along with it.
Yeah.
And that's the mistake. That is what the New Testament calls the snare of the devil. That is a pride-fueled journey. And the delicate nature of walking through the process of awakening, guided by the Holy Spirit in the name of Jesus, is constantly being led by the shepherd in right paths. The stakes get much higher for going off the path.
Yep.
You're way up high on a ladder that you are ascending step by step in obedience to a command that is coming from the shepherd's voice within your being. And if you start to become over familiar with that voice and imprint your nature onto it,
come on,
you can very quickly begin to delude yourself by speaking and mistaking it, speaking within yourself and mistaking it as the voice you're supposed to follow. You said within yourself, I will ascend. The stakes are very high when you do this. It's very easy to slip over into that mistake. And the fall from that position is really desperately, desperately dangerous.
It's fatal.
I mean,
it's fatal.
So quickly.
Look at Leviticus 10. Nadab and Abihu.
Yes.
These are the high priest's sons.
Yes.
Who have been, they're relatively new to this process, right? Like, this ordinance has just been established as far as the holiness of the Most High God. Can you imagine your daddy, which is the brother of, like, the bishop, the prophet, the man. So your uncle, he's the man. And now your father has been chosen as the high priest. And now you, as the first generation, is now representing the Levitical priesthood now as well. And specific instructions have been given as far as how you are to operate in the order of worshiping God, how we are approaching God. I don't know what was going through their mind, if it was hubris or arrogance, pride, or just plain ignorance. But them waving their censers and filling it with the incense. Reading the story,
too comfortable.
Yeah, just too comfortable. I don't think it was even a matter of, like, disrespect necessarily.
Not intentionally.
No. I think it was a matter of, like, a misguided zeal.
Yeah.
You know?
Very similar. I was going to save this for the next live about the this will probably come up when we're transitioning from the tabernacle of Moses to the temple of Solomon, because this story happened directly in that transition. But it's the same mistake Uzziah made.
Yeah, exactly. The exact same mistake.
Reached out, put his hand to something, because the ark had been just right amongst the people for a long time.
Well, I would say it's even deeper than that. It's the simple fact that, number one, the ark had been stolen by the enemy. And they were able to do things with proximity to the ark that Israel was not able to do. Somehow they were able to transport it into their temple. Of course, we know the story. Dagon ultimately is like bowing down to it, kind of destroyed. So the Philistines are freaked out. They're trying to like, hey, take this back. This is a holy relic that we don't want nothing to do with. It has a higher power attached to it, right? But the way that they transported the ox or the ark was on a cart. And so now David, he knows there are specific instructions with how the ark is to be transported. And for whatever reason, they became way too comfortable. And they decided that they were going to utilize the enemy's technology to transport the glory of God. And that is just so powerful to me on like how we can look at, well, they're doing it like that. And they were able to do it just fine. But what instructions were given to you that would give you the green light to think that you're able to emulate what someone else can do as far as handling the presence of the Most High God? And putting that ark on that back of that cart with the oxen that stumbles, the ark starts to slip, and Uzziah reaches out to steady it, and touches what he's not supposed to come in contact with. And
yeah, there was confines of covenant relationship there that weren't there with the Philistines.
Exactly.
And God breaking out from the ark on Dagon also pertains to a covenant relationship.
That's good, man.
Different story, but that Psalm 83 covenant came into play there.
Right.
But God didn't have an agreement with the Philistines, so he let them get away with some stuff. But it all bred familiarity. Even from the heart posture of wanting to do the right thing, it still bred familiarity.
Right.
And the funny thing is, it pissed David off. That was David's reaction.
Yeah, he was hot, man. In fact, he's like, you know what, just leave the ark here. We're not even going to take it back with us.
And to make it worse, the house where they left it was blessed for having it. So the whole thing was like...
Yeah. There's... I think one of the last good examples, because I know that you want to add a wrinkle in here.
Yeah, but I want to stay here for a minute, so go ahead.
King Uzziah, man.
Yep.
And the Bible talks about, this is in Chronicles, I believe. Yeah. 2 Chronicles 26. Let's pull that up real quick. As go back to the end of 26. There was a level of arrogance that he kind of operated in. Now, mind you, this was a great king who accomplished much in his day, and so he's at the kind of the top.
Yeah, he arguably one of the greatest outside of David.
Yeah. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for that.
No, except in academia.
Yeah.
They do recognize.
They kind of recognize it like, this man.
This guy was no joke.
No.
He did a lot for the empire.
Right. And verse 16, but when he became strong, his heart was so proud that he acted corruptly, and he was untrue to the Lord his God, for he entered the temple of the Lord to burn incense on the altar of incense. There we go again. Then Azariah the priest entered after him, and with him 80 priests of the Lord, valiant men. They opposed Uzziah the king and said to him, "It is not for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to Jehovah, but for the priests, the sons of Aaron, who have been consecrated to burn incense. Leave the sanctuary, for you have been untrue and will have no honor from Jehovah." But Uzziah, I mean, come on. Man, you got a priest pulling up with 80 other consecrated men of God trying to save your life, man.
Yeah.
It's like he never heard the story of Nadab and Abihu. And what we didn't even talk about.
It's possible that he didn't. They were in the process of really losing track of the Mosaic tradition.
True.
If you follow the arc of
That's
the story.
true. That's true. But it's like, my goodness, like, not only did the Lord break out in fire against Nadab and Abihu, he told their father, don't you dare cry about it.
So hardcore.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine losing your sons in such a traumatic, tragic way? And the Lord instructs Moses, you better tell the high priest he better not mourn. Don't you let a tear come out of his eye. Because if he does, because he is consecrated as holy before me.
Yeah, he told him that for the same reason that his sons had died.
Yeah.
You're in your vestments. You're in your office. You're not at home. You're at my house.
Right. How you respond is going to have very, very specific, swift, and dire consequences.
Yeah, you cannot respond. We don't have that relationship. You cannot respond as Aaron the father. You are Aaron the high priest here.
Yeah. Right, that's wild. But Uzziah, with a censer in his hand for burning incense, was enraged. And while he was enraged with the priest, leprosy broke out on his forehead in the presence of the priest in the house of Jehovah, beside the altar of incense. Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked at him, and behold, he was leprous on his forehead. And they quickly removed him from there, and he himself also hurried to get out, because Jehovah had stricken him.
I think 18 years? I think it was something like 18 years he spent locked away.
Yeah, he had leprosy to the day of his death, and he lived in a separate house, afflicted as he was with leprosy, for he was cut off from the house of the Lord, and his son Jotham was over the king's house, judging the people of the land.
Yeah. Yeah, he was still the king in a figure, like he was a figurehead. But he was completely cut off. And that, by the way, is the backdrop
for
poor Isaiah.
And the king. In the year of King Uzziah.
That King Uzziah died. And there's poor Isaiah in the house of God, seeing the vision of God in all of his glory.
Yeah.
And in that context, being told, you're going to speak for me. And he's like, pretty sure I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
Because that's the backdrop. Isaiah did not suffer from familiarity.
But I think that story is written for us to understand the consequences of approaching things that are holy from a casual, too familiar mindset. And then you also have Isaiah, who is like, I'm a man undone. Like, no.
And then God shows him everything.
Yeah.
Isaiah came the closest to writing a systematic theology of the entire arc of Scripture.
Come on.
That anyone else did. Basically, Isaiah, in my opinion, is the Paul of the Old Testament.
Yeah. Oh, by far.
And there would be no Paul without Isaiah. And Jesus quoted Isaiah more than anybody else that I can track.
Right.
So God did not hide his nature from Isaiah, but it was predicated on Isaiah's appreciation of the relationship.
Absolutely.
Which is really what we're getting at. This might be silly to some people, and I have never said this out loud before. This is just something that has developed for me in the last couple of years. I used to wear a cross necklace every day. And I switched that up for a lot of reasons. But one of them was that I just it started to feel weird to me when the youngest person who was ever executed by electric chair in the United States was a young African American
little boy.
Boy, yeah. Do you know his name?
His name is slipping me.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, but
I know exactly who you're talking about, though.
I've seen that image
right
from time to time, and it haunts me in a way that I have a really hard time putting into words. He just feels like such a grotesque stain on our history.
George Steady Jr.
Okay. Yeah. You said the middle name is what?
Well, he's a junior. George Stinney.
Stinney.
Yeah.
George Stinney Jr.
South Carolina, yeah.
What year was that?
1944.
And he was, what, 14?
14 years old. Yeah.
14.
It's the age of my daughter. My God.
Bro, it's such a potent form of evil. But that image, I can see it right now. And I've only seen it a couple times. But it is burned in my mind. And I'm a little uncomfortable with the fact that even in George Stinney Jr.'s honor, I could never wear an electric chair pendant around my neck because it's too close, it's too recent, it's too grotesque. Even if I were to do it as a reminder of what we have to be aware of and remember, keep our national sin before us, I could have all the right reasons for wearing it. But it would just feel, am I right? It would feel so irreverent.
Yeah.
And so then I'm questioning, where does my comfort level with the symbol of
extreme torture
that was used to kill Jesus? What is producing my comfort level with that as an accoutrement of fashion, even though I'm wearing it because I want to be identified with him and his death and his burial, his resurrection. And so I started to realize, I think it's just time and culture. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And there are no photographs of it. And it's so ubiquitous in our culture that I'm very familiar with it. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of slowly over the period of a year, a cross pendant basically became something that I wear on occasion to funerals, weddings, and church services. It just became a sacred article of clothing for me. Not sacred in the sense of being worshipped or reverenced. Or reverenced, yes. not worshipped.
Oh, but sacred as far as it's set apart.
It's set apart. It's not my everyday wear.
It's not your everyday wear, right?
And that's just for me. I don't judge anybody that it is their everyday wear.
It's not your Apple Watch.
It's not. Don't. I hate you. But it just like it. I wasn't comfortable with where it was sitting in my life.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna place a demarcation here in my life because I want this to mean something to me every time I look at it.
That's good.
So I think this is what it comes down to. It's not about rules and regulations. It's about a posture of the heart that recognizes that, yes, God became a man, and yes, he showed us the spark of divinity he placed within us and how to access that and grow it.
Yeah.
Steward it and allow him to grow it. God became man, but man did not become God.
That's a difference. There's a difference.
And whatever it takes for us as Bible-believing followers of Jesus, whatever it takes for us to keep that crystal clear is what we're talking about tonight, that avoids this trap of projecting our likeness onto his image and becoming becoming enamored of the us we see in him instead of the him we see in us. That the more we learn of his true nature, the less we are in love with him.
My goodness.
Because he is unlike us in some very key ways.
There's a lot of dissimilarity. Yeah.
The other place that your comment took me was in Song of Solomon 3, the bride is, it would appear to be the night before the ceremony maybe. And she is all kinds of bothered. Right? And she says, all night long on my bed, I longed for my lover. I longed for him, but he never appeared. And this is not what tonight is about, but tonight does not feel like an inappropriate time to make an appeal to our generation and the generations below us that have lost all sense, through no fault of their own. This has been inflicted on them by culture.
Yeah.
Have lost all sense of maintaining an air of mystery about themselves during the process of, you can't even call it courting anymore. It's just mating.
Yeah. Nothing's left for the imagination.
Oh my God. This is so dystopian. I really fear for anyone that could hear this said out loud and not have a chill go down their spine, because the brain rot involved in that is terrifying. I think most of us, I hope most of us, are still uncomfortable when someone says out loud, you know, like a lot of us are out here opening an app in our phone that looks at geometric data to find people that are close enough to us that we can get to each other in the next hour, and then shows us headshots of each other, and we insta swipe right or left on those shots, Because if two of us swipe right on each other, we have an opportunity to have a quick conversation and decide whether we want to bet each other tonight. Yeah. That is dystopian at a level that, like, it's less than 100 years. It's quite a bit less than 100 years from the time that you would see somebody in a bar or wherever, and it would kick off this dance of like, who are you? I'm a guy from Mobile. You know what I mean? This I'm going to show you just enough to make you wish I showed you more, and we're going to carry that tension. And the more serious we are about this relationship, the harder I'm going to carry that tension. And on the woman's side, so often, it was also, you don't get my physicality until I get a lot of your vulnerability.
That was a great exchange.
Oh, the dance of that, man. The push and pull of that was everything.
It's not there anymore.
And I'm not saying that to be like, I know that's kind of, they would say boomer coded or whatever. I'm sorry.
No, it is what it is. The level of access that we have to one another has completely stripped away, for lack of better words, every bit of mystery, every bit of curiosity even. And that has also built in a mindset, especially in men. Oh, man. Somebody was saying, like, I found it was funny.
Oh, no.
They were just saying, like, your grandfather or your great grandfather may have seen like 2 to 3 like baddies, you know what I mean? Like, complete mind-blowing beautiful women in his entire lifetime, right?
Right.
And like our generation, there's an endless sea of images they have access to at any given moment. You build up a level of like desensitization. That's not a word.
Desensitization.
Desensitization. There we go. It's
hard. It's a lot of syllables.
It's a lot of syllables. And after a while, it's just like you're completely unfazed. And that level of respect goes right out the window.
Yep.
And like how you, like, if you just see women as just objects, you see them as just a conquest. And it's not even a hard conquest anymore. It's because just the options are just all over the place.
And this is not us advocating purity culture. Don't start me on that.
That's not what this is.
I have every bit as much to say about modern evangelical purity culture as I do this. So please don't hear us advocating for the shame culture that the church inflicted on this, because that wasn't Jesus that did that. It didn't come from the Bible. It was absolutely culture and politics. Just no. But with that being said, Song of Solomon is so interesting because it's so primal in some places that it actually crosses into kinky. Like, it's like, oh man, like
they went there.
Oh my word. However, because it is framed in this covenantal architecture that holds it together and produces this very healthy tension and longing and mutual desire and respect, all of that plays out in a way that somehow produces ultimate union held in honor, love, and respect as intimacy grows, which is profound.
Absolutely, yes.
Because you just read us a bunch of studies that said that's not the tendency of things.
No.
That's not how it goes on its own. So it's not a mystery why everyone on TikTok says there's nobody worth dating anymore. I will agree with you if you will agree that you are one of the ones not worth dating. That's the part that always gets me. People jump on there and say, there are no good men out here anymore. There are no good women out here anymore. That's true. Just make sure you include yourself.
Yeah.
Because this is not a moral statement about y'all. This is a cultural reality
About us.
that you need to immediately begin deconstructing to find out where it went wrong.
Yeah.
All of us out, and I'm saying us because I don't want to be mean. I'm not dating. But all y'all need to deconstruct post haste.
Yeah.
And figure it out, because it is producing a lot of character issues, but it's chicken and the egg. This has been inflicted on you. It doesn't mean you're a victim because you're not powerless, but it does mean you have been victimized.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, man, the fact that a lot of men are apparently jumping in strangers' DMs and asking the most unhinged questions, like, would you whatever, that would typically take a married man a decade to bring up, test the waters, run up a test balloon and see if we're ready to have this conversation and all of that. It really speaks to the complete loss of this mystery that we don't hide ourselves. And we're not talking about being inauthentic. God is not inauthentic. God is ordered.
Yes.
He uses protocol to reveal himself. There are parts of himself that he shows to spark desire.
Yes.
But there are parts of himself that he hides because no one gets to have access to those without pursuing him.
Yep.
All night long on my bed, I longed for my lover. I longed for him, but he never appeared.
Yeah.
I will arise and look all around. I mean, this book is not primarily about sex, but gentlemen, Solomon will put you on some game.
Yeah.
Listen to how the bride responds. I will arise and look all around throughout the town and throughout the streets and squares. I will search for my beloved. Interestingly, this is going to become the same language Solomon uses later in Proverbs to talk about pursuing wisdom.
Yes.
I will search for my beloved. I searched for him, but I did not find him. The night watchmen found me, the ones who guard the city walls. Have you seen my beloved? Scarcely had I passed by when I found my beloved. I held on to him tightly and would not let him go. I brought him to my mother's house, to the bedroom chamber of the one who conceived me. So even there, because we are not yet we have not had the ceremony, even there, she's longing for the intimacy, but she's holding it in context of order.
Come on.
Hey, Mom, get up. I brought my boyfriend home. I had to see him. She didn't take him to her bedroom. She took him to her mom's room because we are still out here protecting a part of ourselves that is yet to be earned. And if you don't think that that's the right read of those verses, then read the next verse.
Yeah.
I admonish you, O maidens of Jerusalem, by the gazelles and by the young does of the open fields, do not awaken or arouse love until it pleases. Why did she say, I admonish you by the gazelles and by the young does? A lot of y'all have never gone hunting, and it shows. A lot of y'all have never been on a farm, and it shows. When I tell you these gazelles be out here making their men work for it, that's the image she's drawing. It crosses through now toward the end of chapter 3 in verse 6, we have the bridal procession.
Yeah.
Right? So it paints that whole picture and then immediately launches in chapter 4 to the wedding night.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read chapter 4. Chapter 4, the bride is described. The wedding night is described.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the activities are described. Okay. The wedding night is hot and heavy. Chapter 5, I'm going to say this and it's going to make the church people so mad. Chapter 5, the groom is sitting up in bed smoking a cigarette. Like, I'm being funny, y'all, but I'm just letting you know where we are in the story arc, right?
Yeah.
I have entered my garden. Oh, my sister, my bride, I have gathered my myrrh with my balsam spice. I have eaten my honeycomb and my honey. I have drunk my wine and my milk. I'm not going to elaborate, but the point is, and why I wanted to read it, a lot of the mystery has now been revealed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are now at a new phase in the relationship. All that tension and all of that had been building is has led up to a point where we have gone on a journey of discovery of each other, and now a lot of those layers of mystery have turned into information.
Yeah.
Immediately, the bride has a bad dream. As soon as the mystery is gone, the bride has a dream. I was asleep, but my mind was dreaming. Or a lot of translations say my heart was awake.
Yeah.
I was asleep, but my mind was dreaming. Listen, my lover is knocking at the door. Open for me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampness of the night. I have already taken off my robe. Must I put it on again? I have already washed my feet. Must I soil them again? My lover thrust his hand through the hole of the door, the latch of the door, and my feelings were stirred for him. I arose to open for my beloved. My hands dripped with myrrh. My fingers flowed with myrrh on the handles of the lock. Ointment, perfume, whatever you want to say. I opened for my beloved, but my beloved had already turned and gone away. Or I opened for my beloved, but my lover had already turned and gone away. Mm-hmm. I fell into despair when he departed. I looked for him, but did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer me. The watchmen found me again as they made their rounds in the city. They beat me. They bruised me. They took away my cloak, those watchmen on the walls. I admonish you, O maidens of Jerusalem, If you find my beloved, what will you tell him? Tell him that I am lovesick. So to me, the bride, as soon as the mystery is gone, the bride immediately has a bad dream that she lost that sense of allure that had come with the lack of familiarity. So it kind of feels like this process you opened describing to us tonight is playing out, and this happens in marriages all the time. They're being poetic, so they place that scene right after the wedding night, but I think that's just a literary device of letting us know, okay, we've moved into the intimate phase of our relationship. Now here's a bad dream coming. So I think the real world referent here would be the end of the honeymoon period.
Yeah. The honeymoon's over. Yep.
When the honeymoon is over, that primal fear starts to creep in. Have I discovered everything there is to know about him? Yeah. Am I bored? And something about the way he presented himself to her made him show up in her dream as a mystery. And the dream stirred the desire, and she ran out looking for him again. And so I think that there's a really profound truth here about how we hold intimacy with that protective layer of honor and self-respect.
Yeah.
That applies directly to our relationship with God, because once he reveals himself to us, in my experience, he will always withdraw and see if we dream about him, if we go chase him, if the judgmental watchers are enough to turn us around and send us home, or if we'll stay in pursuit for the next encounter. I think that's how the groom postures himself to the bride. That's what we're being taught here.
Yeah. In the midst of how comfortable we have gotten, we've already got in our comfy jammy jams, already showered up, lotioned up, perfume. We're ready to slip away into night.
Which means that the encounter has become commonplace.
Yeah.
Because just a few nights ago, you couldn't stop her.
Right. But the way that this plays out, like you're saying, it's like, man, the groom is not allowing that familiarity to take root.
Because he treasures her.
Yeah. That's how God decides to interact with us.
Right.
It shows how we're supposed to, in turn, pursue him. That's how you live Antikemi. In a world where it tells you just to get comfortable. God loves everybody. We're not saying that's not what we're trying to articulate. Because it's such a lazy way to approach the gospel to me. And I think it kind of takes away the pursuit and the longing that we need to have as we come encounter the Most High God, you know? Like, we shouldn't approach the cross like it's a bargain bin where grace is marked down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not costly. Like his blood didn't flow from his side. And, like, that didn't cost something. You know what I mean?
And I think a lot of times in the big box church model, we make the mistake of putting up the big yellow rollback signs. Yeah. Oh, it actually doesn't cost as much as we used to say it does. We're reacting to a culture of legalism that had existed, but at a point it's like, well, yeah, but what gave rise to that was a sense of awe with the sacred. It got twisted, it got distorted, but reducing the cost was not necessarily the right solution.
No, not at all. Not at all. He still requires you to lose your life.
It's like all of this is making me feel so much that our Father desires to be treasured by his children, that the groom desires to be treasured by the bride. I think of how often as pastors we clock that someone is seemingly somewhere in the slow fade process, you know, you just notice the embers dying, and often when you reach out to a person like that out of concern, hey, is everything okay? I wanted to check in on you. You were real. We'll say something often like, I know you were real on fire, but I know that life is hard and I know the enemy is at work, and I wanted to check in on you because it feels like, from where I'm, no judgment, you know, that's usually how we will approach it. It feels like you might not be where you were. How can I help you? What's going on? And I can't tell you how often, at least I have heard some version of, you know, Pastor, I love the Lord. I really do. And I know I should be at church, and I'm going to be back. I've been thinking about it. I've been feeling that. Mm-hmm. It just feels like he's not been available. It feels like he went silent on me.
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time with that. But I know I need to come. I know I need to. And I wonder in those scenarios how often the Most High is looking down on that going, yeah, I wanted you to chase. Did you forget about our thing that we got going? What happened to you? You used to get so excited when I told you we were going to meet up. I took a step back because I wanted you to take a step forward. I didn't pick up a tab because I wanted to see if you were willing to pick up a tab. I wonder how often that might be all it is the groom taking a step back and going, we still got it, right?
Yeah.
You still down bad for me, right?
My goodness. And I want you to take the turn that we were talking about.
Yeah.
In the few minutes we have left, right before you do, just one of the saddest stories in the Bible is Jesus coming back to his hometown.
Yeah.
And they refuse to acknowledge him as anything but the carpenter's son. Is that just the carpenter's son? That's Mary's boy. That's Joseph's boy. And Jesus, he recognizes immediately that there's no honor here. Makes a statement, a prophet is not honored in his hometown. And the Bible goes on to say that he did very few miracles there.
Yeah.
Like, man, that is devastatingly sad to me that he was unable to just be, because there was so much familiarity attached.
I read a statement today in a really old book that said, those who could only see Jesus, the carpenter's son, never knew the Christ. And those who saw the Christ got to know Jesus.
Yeah. I heard it like this. The God you see is the God you get.
Right.
Those who saw the carpenter, they were able to get their house fixed.
Right.
Those who saw the Christ, able to get their life fixed.
Imagine the tragic irony of that, being that person that goes down in history as being like, oh, Jesus, yeah, he fixed my cabinets one time. With your withered hand self.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never knowing the groom was right there staring at you with longing. Desiring to make you whole. But you wanted your cabinets fixed.
Imagine Jesus' best friend growing up. Couldn't even be called to be a disciple because it's like, that's Jesus from the block. I know him. We had a bar mitzvah together.
He turned the beer into milk.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like,
Oh, man. So we've been moving toward that turn.
Yeah.
Because the same one that wrote Song of Solomon, he's also the one who built this temple that gave us such a powerful image of who we are in our identity as the temple of the living God. And Solomon he made a statement in Proverbs 9. He said it like this. Verse 1, wisdom has built her house.
Whoa.
She has carved out its 7 pillars. So number 1, wisdom has built her house. There's a statement like this in Proverbs 24:2 that says this. Let me go there. Proverbs 24:2 or 3. By wisdom a house is built.
Yep.
And through understanding it is established. By knowledge its rooms are filled with all kinds of precious and pleasing treasures. So the man who built the house of God said that wisdom is the one that understands the architecture of the house. understanding is the one that gets the job done. And knowledge is the one that fills the house with good things. So then going back where we were to chapter 9, wisdom has built her house. She has carved out its 7 pillars. Used to bug me. Who puts 7 pillars on a house? I used to really wrestle with that. Like, where is the door? If there are 3 pillars on each side of the porch,
right?
What is it? Then 1 in the middle. First of all, now that I understand the metaphor, I'm like, oh, it was never about that. Yeah. But second of all, I have a hunch, and this is just the gospel of Schulz, but I have a hunch those are pairs of pillars, and they're inside. So I think we're looking at the imagery of walking into an ancient, great house.
Oh, yeah.
And being in a pillared hall with 7 sets of pillars down the hall. That's just a working theory. Doesn't matter. The 7 pillars is the same thing as the 7-branch candlestick. It's the 7 pillars is descriptive of the 7-fold Spirit of God, right. The first of which is the Spirit of the Lord. Yeah. The second of which is the Spirit of the fear of the Lord. And then wisdom, counsel, might, knowledge, understanding. You know what I mean? So wisdom has built her house and carved out its 7 pillars. How do you carve out the Spirit of God? No. This is what holds. Just like the 7-branch candlestick holds the 7 flames. Yes. This is the support structure to hold the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of knowledge, the spirit of... she has prepared her meat. She has mixed her wine. She has also arranged her table. So the sacrifice has taken place. The flesh is dead. Mm-hmm. The wine has been mixed, which means that the water of existence has been raised into the wine of conscious union with the Almighty. Yeah. And spiced appropriately to be pleasing. She has also arranged her table. So the place of fellowship, the place where the bread is laid. Preparation. Yeah. She has sent out her female servants. She calls out on the highest places of the city. Whoever lacks knowledge, whoever's naive, let them come. So the person who was responsible to build the temple told us that wisdom is the one that has the blueprint, that has the plans, that knowledge is the one that can get the job done, right. And that understanding is the one that can get the job done, because wisdom is seeing the big picture, understanding is applying it, and knowledge is living in it. Right. So knowledge fills it with good treasures. So when we talk about this pattern of protocol discovery that drives the dance of a healthy relationship that has enough unity to hold it together and enough friction to keep it alive and vibrant and pumping, enough tension to keep the attention of the partners. that is the same image that the temple is showing us. I can see the holy place where I know that he is, but there's a very specific protocol of how I lay aside everything that would keep me from being authentically and vulnerably the me that he has set his desire upon.
Yeah.
He is calling to me. I must journey toward him. But in that process, this protocol will reveal aspects of him and his posture toward me and correct aspects of me and my posture toward him.
Right.
So that by the time I get into the holy place, the alignment is there and the tension has built to the point that I will not treat this encounter as common, and he will be adequately motivated by the desire of drawing near to me.
Yeah.
And the image becomes infinitely more powerful once you are moving through that process under the priesthood of Jesus, and you don't have to stay outside the master suite.
Boy.
Because the veil that blocked our perception is the same thing that is described in Genesis 3 when it says that the garden was shut behind them and the cherubs guarded the door with flaming swords. That veil has been torn by the blood of Jesus, and I can move through and actually perceive, like Isaiah, the Lord high and lifted up, but with intimacy.
Yeah.
And boldly approach the throne of grace, as Hebrews tells us. So,
that's an invitation to familiarity.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
With all of that in play, this discussion really, pondering this discussion, once you told me what you wanted to talk about, led me to thinking about a thing that has always nagged at me a little bit. In the 3rd verse of the 1st chapter, the 7th verse of the 1st chapter of Proverbs, the statement is made, fearing the Lord, or the fear of the Lord, fearing Yehovah is the beginning of discernment, but fools have despised wisdom and moral instruction. Most of us know that verse better, a little more like this. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Yeah. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. It is often quoted as the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But what the verse actually says is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge.
Right.
And I don't know if that's one of those, what do you call them, Mandela effects or what. But I personally remember being surprised by that when I was pretty young, because everybody would always say the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But what it actually says is, when I read it even when I was young, I was like, wait, it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Now, those words are way too closely related to get too in the weeds about, but it is interesting because knowledge is the one that fills the house with treasure, and wisdom is the one that sees how the house is built, and instruction is how we get understanding.
That's right.
So these three motifs are right here in this verse, 7 verses into the book of Proverbs. And it has bothered me a little bit through the years that we are told that God is love, and we are told that perfect love casts out all fear, and there's no fear in love. And then we are being told here that fearing the Lord is the beginning of knowledge.
That's also stated in Proverbs 1 and 7.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was reading Proverbs 8, I think.
Oh, no, I'm reading Proverbs 1 and 7.
It says, I have knowledge.
Right. I always heard it quoted as the fear of the Lord. I mean, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah, that's later on in Proverbs.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's why I was saying, I don't know if that's one of those Mandela effects or what.
Yeah.
But
They have them both, yeah.
okay. So, but in this case, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge.
Specifically
or
knowledge.
In the New English translation, they use discernment, and they have this footnote in Hebrew, knowledge. Refers to experiential knowledge, not just cognitive knowledge. Including the intellectual assimilation and practical application. It is also used in verse 4 with the nuanced discernment, and the variation of this motto in 9 and 10 substitutes chokhmah, wisdom, moral skill at this point. So a lot of these proverbs, like this one, are repeated multiple times with slightly different inflections.
Yeah, variations of it, right.
So, but discernment is interesting because to discern is to see clearly.
Yes.
So the fear of the Lord, or fearing the Lord, is the beginning of seeing him clearly and of seeing everything clearly. And you'd have to be a fool to despise wisdom and instruction. And so when I read the footnote in the New English translation, which is the primary reason we would read the Net Bible, is because the footnotes are just rich, the richest. There aren't better footnotes. Here's what it says about the fear of the Lord, and it cracked the nut for me. Because yes, I have received and given all of the explanations we've all given about why it says the fear of the Lord. But still, it's like, but really, like, the first thing we're supposed to do is fear him, even though he is love, and perfect love casts out all fear, and there is no fear in love. And it's just, there's a tension there.
Yeah.
Here's their note on fear of the Lord. In this expression, Yirat Yehvah, the Lord functions as an objective genitive, meaning he is the object of fear and wonder. He generates this fear and wonder, right?
Right.
The term yirah comes from the root yareh, the common root for fear in the Old Testament, which has a basic threefold range of meaning. And here's where it cracked for me. 1, to be in dread or terror. 2, to stand in awe. 3, to revere, to respect.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, to revere, well, to respect, we've already talked about that, right? Again, and spect, like spectacles. So RESPECT is to look again, to take a second look. Here's why that matters in the context of intimacy. The reason that respect matters so much in the context of intimacy is because when we look at someone we are extremely familiar with, we don't see them. We see everything that our intimacy with them has imprinted on our perception of them.
Come on.
So if we don't pause to look again, we won't see the them that we saw across a smoky room the first time we ever saw them.
Yeah.
We won't see the them that we saw when we stared down the aisle at them coming toward us. We won't see the them that we watched bring our child to birth or whatever it is. We're men, so I'm speaking from our point of view, but it goes both ways.
Right.
If we just look at them, we will not see them. We will see what the process of lived intimacy has imprinted on them in our minds. Familiarity.
Yeah.
If we will pause and look again, we stand a chance of seeing them for the first time again. Respect. But why is that definition not just respect? It's revere and respect. So I looked up revere because I was like, this is so similar to respect. What is the difference? I've never been clear on the difference between reverence and respect. So veer is another word of looking, but it's a little different. It's watching. In the sense of standing guard or sentinel.
Right.
It's an old, I think, Anglo-Saxon root, if I remember right. It's an old root word that is the old English word or Scottish word maybe for guard. So the third definition here of fear is to look again and to guard again, to watch again. Yeah. So now we're being told, yes, fearing the Lord, the word here for fear of the Lord, the root of it is threefold: to be in dread or terror, to stand in awe, and to revere, to respect, to look again, and to be watchful and guard again. And so it cracked the code for me. 1, my flesh is going to, it's if my flesh does not feel abject terror in the presence of the living God, it has forgotten the fundamental fact about the Most High, which is that all flesh that sees him dies.
Yeah. My goodness.
Uzziah, Isaiah. Not an accident that their names are so similar, by the way. Uzziah, Isaiah. Flesh ought to dread the presence of the living God, because it is flesh's job to die in that presence. Ego. Spirit is going to be in awe of God, because spirit is the part of you that still has that natural childlike wonder. Right. That one look, my spirit's going to soar and fall prostrate at the same time. Awe, just overwhelmed. Soul is the part that's going to need to walk that line and feel the push and pull of a little bit of, he's a little scary, but also I want him so bad. And I got to guard this relationship.
Oh, my goodness.
So the whole reason that fearing the Lord is the beginning of discernment, of seeing clearly, and the whole reason that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, according to you're saying to Proverbs 8, is because it produces this threefold reaction inside of us. where flesh and ego recoil and begin to take on the posture that they need to take on.
Yep.
Spirit begins to soar and bow at the same time because of awe, and be quiet. We need the silence of it. And soul begins to feel that tension of the dance. That, yes, I'm familiar with him, but I'm not allowing that to grow into common.
Yeah.
I'm intimate, but also I'm pausing to look again and to guard again so I don't lose this dynamic that we have built. And if you master that dance of that kind of fear, which is not that different from women going from I choose the bear to accepting a second date. Men are kind of feral, and we can be extremely unsafe, and they're going to feel that reality first. It's up to us to present ourselves with just enough mystery that makes them decide that they still want to know more and keep that alive. And so this is the dance that we're in with God, which is what will produce in us the awareness that if God lives in this body and this body is his temple, my hang-ups with this flesh, that this meat suit that I'm in, my hang-ups notwithstanding, my vanities notwithstanding, my traumas notwithstanding, my identity crisis notwithstanding, the places where I feel very at ease and comfortable in my skin, and the places where I don't feel at home in my body at all of those dynamics notwithstanding, it is my job to build this house and to hew out its 7 pillars. It has reframed the whole pursuit of healing and becoming healthy for me, because I'm thinking, well, yeah, because I can't treat this thing as common because of who meets with me here. So that was kind of the left turn for me, was like, this is why the fear of the Lord is the beginning of discernment and wisdom, or knowledge and wisdom, because it begins to tell me how to comport myself in this vessel, this house, how to set the table, how to prepare the meat, how to mix the wine, how to send the servants, how to hew the pillars. It begins to make my role as a priest so clear as it relates to my relationship to my physical body, the vessel.
Yeah.
That it begins to give me a real understanding, actually, of the cosmos and my place in it.
That's how we approach. Because from that vantage point, if we project that,
come on,
that's the likeness that we're trying to actually find similarity to.
There it is.
That's the likeness that we're trying to find similarity to. But it starts with, oh my goodness, taking the step back to understand really what the fear of the Lord consists of. Right? That's special. Yeah, I'm clipping that. I'm clipping that, man. That's so good.
Brooke and I have started to clock a dynamic in our relationship that every stage of marriage is special. Some of them are a little hellish, but you get through them if you stick with it. But this one is special in a unique way, because we are beginning to see the way that our union has impacted each of us in the long term, where in some very fundamental ways, she has shaped the man I am today.
Yeah.
And I have shaped the woman she is today. And in some very fundamental ways, we reflect each other a lot. Like, I've actually become more like her, and she's become more like me.
Yeah.
In ways that are in tension with the way that we came into the marriage. They were not our natural predisposition,
No.
but we mirrored them to each other, learned them off of each other, and gathered pieces that we were missing that have made us a more complete us, each of us, and both of us. And we've been clocking that a little bit lately because it's kind of funny when one or the other of us does something that reminds us of ourselves. I think it's cool that in recognizing that he is not like us and desiring to become closer to him, in that process, he imprints his image more clearly on us. And in the end, we wind up more like him, so he likes us better. He doesn't love us more because he can't. That's not possible. Right. He likes us better because we're more in his likeness. And if we're being honest, we actually like him better for the same reasons that we opened this episode talking about, because the more we become like him, the more that likeness does show up. So because of our relationship to him, it's kind of neat that where that tension lived before in the differential, as the intimacy grows over time, it begins to turn into likeness. And the magic of it is you wind up being more like him. And so you get what you wanted in the first place anyway.
That's good. Man. Well, it's good to know that Brooke is now comfortable with clipping her toenails in the kitchen like you. I'm joking.
It costs me $100 every time she clips her toenails.
I love it. With that being said, y'all, until next time, live Antikemi.
Be Hebrew.